Hello and welcome to the next new series on this channel of mine. In the last series, or one of the last series that I completed, hopefully you saw it, I did a Let's Challenge of Ratchet and Clank, the original from the PS2, and now we're going to do a similar thing, a Let's Challenge of Ratchet and Clank 2, the sequel that also came on the PS2, but I am playing on my PS3 using the HD collection that that came out pretty well, not recently, but that came out. So yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to this. Essentially, for those of you who haven't been on my channel, or don't know what a Let's Challenge is, a Let's Challenge is something I made to essentially test how you want to play the game. It changes sort of how you play the game. It also gives a nice little bit of competitive aspect in that you really want to complete it. So in a Let's Challenge, essentially, I get lives, and every time I die in game, I lose a life. And the key is obviously to never fall below 0 lives. Now, the way I get various lives varies from game to game. So often it's to do with trophies if it's a PS3 game, but because this obviously is a PS2 game, we're going to do something different. And in this case, it's going to be fully upgraded weapons. So in this game, one of the new things that was introduced that sort of made it different from Ratchet & Clank 1 was that each weapon was given an upgraded form. So essentially, once you defeated enough enemies with that weapon, it would upgrade and it would become more powerful, become a much more powerful form, and become more useful. So for every single weapon that I manage to upgrade fully, I get a new life. So that means at the start of the game I'm going to have 0 lives for quite a long time, and then as soon as I start getting my levels up to, as soon as I finish upgrading some of my weapons, I will then start having, start gaining lives, and then start being able to play a little bit more, be a little bit more relaxed about it. And the reason I wanted to do it this way is because upgraded weapons sort of it kind of suits my style, because normally what I would do in most Ratchet & Clank games is I do my best to try and keep all of my weapons equally leveled up. I like using every single weapon. I like upgrading them equally. I don't like overusing one weapon and just sticking with that for the entirety of the game. And but also it does add some peril to the early stages, and it really, it's a really good. It should hopefully be a really good challenge. So I'm looking forward to this. So we're going to start a new game, obviously, and we're going to set off and obviously we're going to have a nice little cutscene which is going to clue us in on what on earth's happened since the end of Ratchet & Clank.
Tonight's heroes are the duo who recently restored peace and order to our galaxy, Ratchet and Clank. So, gentlemen, tell us about your latest incredible adventures.
Well, as you can imagine, we've been pretty busy. After Drek's defeat, there were parades, press conferences, fancy dress balls.
And the wiener roast at Al's.
Oh, yeah, that. And then things started to slow down a bit. After that,
there was the grand opening at Groovy Lube.
Right. I think that was last week.
6 months ago.
We're still pretty busy, but in a more, domestic sense.
Yesterday, I flushed out my radiator core.
I guess no one needs a hero right now.
Miss Bluebottom, I found our man. Welcome.
What the?
I'm Abercrombie Fizzwidget, founder of the Megacorp Company in the Bogon Galaxy.
Bogon?
I'm sorry to incapacitate you, but our entire galaxy is in a very precocious situation. I must humbly request your sustenance on a mission of dire urgitude, a mission of superfluous peril, a mission of unequivocal imperitude.
Did that make any sense?
So, you need me to go on a dangerous mission in another galaxy.
Indubitably. A few days ago, this top-secret biological experiment was stolen from our testing laboratory by this duplicitous criminal mastermind, and I need you to get the experiment back.
We'll do it.
We will?
Frank, I have precipitated your recalcitrance and have made special improvisations for you. We're prepared to give you a job as the head accountant for Megacorp, plus a penthouse suite of lovely mega bullets, and our state-of-the-art robotic masseuse.
Deal.
As for you, Ratchet now leave you on some purgatory shape. While in transit to the Photon Galaxy, you will undergo heavy training and conditioning, including martial arts, heavy weaponry, survival skills, stealth, macrame, ballroom dance, and origami. We've used bipolar vector regurgitation to track the thief's location to a blind base in Sector 7. Infiltrate the base and retrieve the experiment.
Sir, ready for launch.
So there you get the introduction to the story. Obviously, you travel to this brand new galaxy, the Bogon Galaxy, and met the rather interesting Abercrombie Fizzwidget with his lovely.
Ratchet reporting. I'm on final approach to coordinates 37 Alpha.
Good luck. I'm counting on you.
Affirmative. Beginning radio silence.
The brilliant nature of how he uses his words and how he obviously mixes up these long words and try and uses long words when he obviously uses them in completely the wrong context or just makes up words completely. But anyway, so here we are, Planet Aranet's first level, and
Circle to fire your lantern.
what you'll notice is straight away from the start of this game, things are a lot more combat based. Things are a lot more. It's almost like Ratchet's grown up from the first game. It's obviously a hell of a lot more sort of ready for combat. So you see that quite early on in this game that you get a lot more combat. And also, I mean, obviously we start off with two weapons, but just the nature of like the basic weapon being this sort of relatively long range, almost like semi-automatic in a way. I don't know how you describe that. I'm not good with guns, but just the nature of the weapon means that they can sort of can throw a greater variety of enemies at you just through range and stuff like that, which is, it makes this start of this, the tone is a lot different in many ways, and, I think it's a change for the better in many ways. So, yeah, so as you can see, we've got these little red balls. They're blade balls. They are rather annoying. Anyway, so we'll continue to make our way around this first area. I do like how does it happen? Yeah, I like how the mask immediately comes on when he goes into space. That was a nice little touch. Anyway, so we'll head up here. No! Apologies. Apologies for the camera falling down there. So yeah, I'm just going to advise us that we use the gravity bomb here. As you can see, it's essentially like a much more powerful version of the bomb glove from the first game in many ways. And we're going to get the checkpoint and a cutscene.
I see it's time to update my security forces.
Whoa, no, hey, no, look, I'm just here to fix the transfluxer coil.
Nice try. Give my regards to Megacorp. Finish him.
Why they don't take the chance to kill him there, I don't know, but anyway. So yeah, so you can see under each weapon there's a little, both in the top left corner and also in the quick select, there's this little blue bar that essentially starts filling up with orange. When it maxes out, that's when you know your weapon is upgraded. And it'll change to a much more powerful form. And obviously the degree of difficulty that a given enemy provides should increase the amount of experience it gives to a weapon.
Right. I am in the market for some security.
You'll bring the cash. need your best men to meet me at these coordinates.
To reverse the cap.
Oh man. So we'll continue to make our way through this first area. Again, you know, obviously being an introduction area, there's no real danger here. That's a bit worrying. Can I hit the switch in the middle? Yes, I can. Okay, good. Don't know quite what happened there, but managed to sort it out.
You can aim your Lancer more accurately by holding L1.
Obviously we can, we don't need to. It was a rather inconvenient time for the help desk message to turn up. I wanted to change weapon. Anyway. So we'll continue to make our way around. Obviously, the other interesting thing about this game is that you start off the vast majority of it where we won't actually have access to Clank for a while, which means obviously you've got to get used to not having access to glide and stuff like that. So you just got to be just be aware of that. I occasionally, you know, might want to just sort of glide somewhere, but realise you can't. This shouldn't be too much of an issue.
Ratchet checking in, sir.
Incredulous. I didn't expect to hear from you again so soon.
There was a slight problem. The thief escaped with the experiment, and I have no idea where he was headed.
Not to worry. I just received an emission which may lubricate the matter.
Do you have any maps for this quadrant of the galaxy?
You bet, mister. We got galactic maps, 3D maps, fold-outs, cutouts, maps to the stars, and their homes.
Sorry about that. Oh, I forgot my wallet. Could you take care of this? Defenses deactivated.
You forgot your change.
Why on earth the perimeter defences are signalled by a massive red button behind the counter is beyond me. But anyway, so we're going to reach the second planet, planet Uzla.
For a map,
And, so again, you know, again, a sort of a relatively basic planet, not too much going on around here. So, what we'll do is we'll just break these boxes. We can actually get a new weapon, which I think is the first thing that we'll... No, actually, I will want to get a new weapon, but before that we just want to make sure that we have enough bolts to get the next... to get the gadget that progresses the story. Just want to make... I'm pretty sure we will, but it's always good to be safe. So this planet is largely infested by these sorts of enemies. So essentially, you've got the little orange bouncy creatures that make very, you know, that rather odd sound, and then you've got these sort of much more some more menacing-looking sort of spider-like creatures that, well, not really spiders, but you know, they got pincers and stuff, and they look much more worrying. And what's nice about this game is that something else that this game introduced that is brand new and that certainly doesn't appear in the previous is it introduces a Monsterpedia, and I believe it's the only game in the Ratchet Clank series that actually does this. So essentially, it gives you, if you go to the help menu, you can go to a Monsterpedia which tells you the various types of enemies and how many of them you've killed and their various stats and stuff like that. So, you know, these are mutant muck dwellers and mutant swamp beasts. For those who care. So anyway.
Your maximum nanotech has increased. Defeat more enemies.
So yeah, so obviously that's something else that was introduced new in this game. You get the chance to increase your maximum nanotech. So as you can see at the top of the screen, I have 5 pieces of nanotech. I used to only have 4, and you know, the capacity to increase your nanotech is actually, you know, it's pretty huge in this game, and it needs to be because the enemies start doing a hell of a lot more than just 1 bit of health per hit. So it's always important that you increase your health along with that, and obviously the increasing of health just sort of occurs naturally with the progression of the game. We won't need to worry about it particularly much at all. So anyway, we'll take this first route over here. Just allows us to take out these enemies for some more weapon experience. So yeah, those orange creatures essentially, they puff out noxious fumes if they get too close to you, but obviously they can be killed in 1 hit, so they're really not a threat to us. I believe this goo you can land in. It's sort of like the goo where you sort of land in. You can jump in it twice, and if you land in it a 3rd time in a row, then you drown. But no need to test that out. This one obviously takes us over here. Some more bolts. You can obviously see that we're also gaining bolts a hell of a lot faster than we did in Ratchet Clank 1. And that's just, you know, a combination of both the actual individual bolt values have changed, such that, aside from, you know, the usual 1 and 5, but there are also new ones. There are ones that are worth 20, 50, 100, etc. And indeed, the whole game is, you know, you pick up bolts very much, you know, faster and faster as you progress through the game. You'll also notice that whenever you get down low on ammo, the ammo meter goes red. For the weapon you're currently holding, if it's down on like 1 or very close to low ammo, and then the actual weapon will appear red in your quick select whenever you're completely out of ammo. I believe that is the situation at least. So we'll continue to make our way through here. As you can see, a lot of this is breakable, like the lampposts and stuff like that. All for more bolts. So we can just make these simple jumps over here. Get up to the top, travel down here, and we're going to get our first gadget of the game.
Welcome, welcome. If everyone could take their seats, we can proceed with today's demonstration. First, I'll need a volunteer. Anyone? Excellent. Your name, sir?
Ratchet.
And there you have it. The Megacorp tractor beam in action. Let's give it up for our volunteer. Sir, how about taking advantage of our show special?
So the tractor beam is worth
Thank
1,000.
you, sir. You won't be disappointed.
The tractor beam moved.
And as the help desk lady, or whatever her name is, would have told you that, essentially it moves around objects that have these glowing circles on them. Regardless of their size, actually, which is rather cool. Now we're going to be able to collect our first platinum bolt, so similar to how there were gold bolts in Ratchet Clank 1, the secrets in this game are platinum bolts, and we will be collecting them all. Much like my Ratchet Clank 1 Let's Challenge, it is a this will be a full platinum bolt run, so a full gold bolt run, but it won't be a skill point run, so we won't be doing all of the skill points. Although I will do my best to tell you what they are. And speaking of which, I believe we should be able to actually get one of those skill points. Get some more ammo. We can come down here.
To go to a
So we'll buy the chopper, which is our next weapon. Essentially, it throws out small stars, which essentially, you know, which bounce around and, you know, hit enemies. It can be very useful, but it's not particularly strong. It's only, I mean, it's obviously an early weapon, so you wouldn't expect it to be too strong. And it's not so good on solitary enemies like that, whereas you can see it's sort of, they don't have the chance to rebound around. As you can see, this guy is currently being dragged down. So one of the skill points you get is by shooting down 4 pterodactyls. So much like how a lot of the skill points in Ratchet Clank 1 were, shoot down the various things flying in the sky. The first skill point you can get in this game is also along the same vein. So there you go, we get you can get a trophy for that, which is nice. I believe there would normally be a guy in here who would actually then be attacked by those orange creatures and would die because of them. But evidently, maybe our our chopper blades went in and stopped that from happening. Anyway.
press.
So we'll continue to make good progress around this planet. And we're about to hit the first...
You've acquired nanotech.
Yeah. We're about to hit the first mini-boss, essentially, of the game. Which is this rather menacing-looking swamp monster, although it's not particularly difficult, as you would imagine, for the first mini-boss. So I want the chopper to try and get the actual final hit. So there we go. Did that help my shot? Yeah, so as you can see, the chopper got a huge boost in its experience there. So as you can see, it's now you know, well over a third, I would have said, of the way there, which is good. And now we're going to get our second rather useful gadget of the game. This will smash our way through these, and then we get the dynamo.
The dynamo.
So yeah, so the dynamo essentially activates any green machinery that has that sort of this particular green sort of symbol by it, such as, you know, this lift, platforms within this building entire.
Thank you for choosing Megacorp, where our customers
Thank
come
you.
first.
I'm not quite sure why that guy's moaning has continued in here. It usually wouldn't, but yeah, so this is, you know, just like a basic introduction to the dynamo, stuff like that. You'll notice that obviously stuff like these clothes, for example, are all breakable. So, and there is a skill point. The second skill point you can get on this planet is essentially for destroying everything in this building. So, all of these multicoloured bottles on the side, stuff like that. All of these are breakable. That's a hell of a lot easier once you, or a lot less time-consuming. It's not really ease; it's more just time. But yeah, that's a lot less time-consuming once you have the box breaker, which is essentially a very handy. I think it's the box breaker. It might be the box breaker in this game. It has different names over the various Ratchet & Clank games. So essentially, it's an item which Ratchet wears, which essentially, whenever he does a hyper strike, so whenever he does that, everything that's breakable, including boxes and ammo boxes and all this sort of stuff, everything around him breaks, and all the money goes straight to him. So, yeah, we'll come back with that most likely. We do actually have to return to this planet anyway, because there is an area just right at the end of this section which we can't actually do yet because we need the magnet boots and we don't have them. Which is located just there. You can see the if you can just see the sloping metallic wall there. We can walk up that once we get access to the magnet boots. But for the moment we can't. So we'll continue to make our way around, get that, and we'll reach the end of planet. Well, not quite the end of planet Uslar, actually. We've got one more platinum bolt to collect.
Ratchet, come in. Are you there?
Copy, Mr. Fizzwidget.
Listen, I have some new information on our experiment's wherewithal. The thief was indemnified at Megacorp's Mactar Resort. Also, the thugs have towed a moon-sized jamming array into Mactar Resort orbit.
Should I take it out?
A Formulus. It's disconfabulating our annual Galactic Gladiators broadcast. See for yourself. Ask yourself, are you man enough, hero enough, insane enough to step into the ring with two of the fiercest warriors in the galaxy? If you answered yes, you're a big, fat liar. But that's okay, because Megacorp is bringing Galactic Gladiators into your home for a special Mega View event. First, it's survival of the fittest in our bio competition. Be there as Chainblade unleashes its fury on our gladiator guest contestants. Chainblade has gone undefeated in 500 straight matches, but if the bio division doesn't do it for you, our robotics division will. Chase the adrenaline as contestants face off against our four-armed bandit, the B2 Brawler. No living creature is a match for this machine. Watch 6 tons of Carbonox alloy hunt for its prey. There's no consolation prize, because this bad boy's programmed to show no mercy. So, what are you waiting for? Call now to bring Chainblade and the B2 Brawler into your living room. But put away the fine china. The Galactic Gladiators, only on Mega View. Call your provider now.
Chainblade, huh? I've got the coordinates. Ratchet out.
So there we have the first introduction to, essentially the first arena section that there's been in a Ratchet & Clank game, so, and we'll certainly be spending a lot of time there, because the arena is rather a very good source of bolts and stuff like that. So now, before we leave this planet, we are going to grab, as I said, a final platinum bolt, and essentially, so I believe it's once you complete both the routes. It might just be the first route we did, but essentially once you complete both, once you do enough, I believe it's both routes, but then you can jump on this guy, and this guy's going to take us to a nice little secret area where there is a platinum bolt. and lots of fireflies. Or whatever they are. And obviously they're no threat to me really, so anyway. We'll pick up our second Platinum Bolt, and then we will be done here on Planet Oozla, and we will head off to the next planet. Essentially, before we get to the next planet, we're going to be ambushed by some thugs for less ships, and essentially, it's just a section that's just designed to give you the introduction to space combat, because that's another new thing, you know. I think I said at the end of my Ratchet Clank 1 thing that the great thing about Ratchet Clank 1 was that it gave an awesome platform from which Insomniac Games could, you know, create even better games from, and an example of that is, you know, certainly this one where they just add more and more features and just make the game more and more awesome. So yeah, like I said, there is actually ship combat in this game, and we will be experiencing that before we get to the Maktar Resort.
May I help you? I said.
So obviously, whilst something rather unfortunate seems to have befallen Clank, we are here in space, ready to face off against some enemy ships. So you notice that there are obviously these large, what seem to be like ice crystals. The reason that I'm breaking them is that they contain, occasionally they'll contain raritanium, and raritanium is really important because essentially it's what you use to buy ship upgrades, and a lot of the some of the later ship missions are very difficult to do without ship upgrades, so we're doing our best to grab as much raritanium as possible. And obviously the enemy ships occasionally give you raritanium as well, but for the moment, for these ships, these are sort of these much weaker ships. The main pistols and stuff like that are all you really need. Where are you? There you go. Naturally, you can't just have one wave. There's always another, so we'll have to just face off against these guys. So obviously the two bars below, obviously the very top bar is my health, and the two bars either side are the shield that I have. And obviously that's now fully depleted, so now I am actually taking damage. Shouldn't be still too much of an issue. There we go, we get partial shield, which is really nice actually. But you can see that the green ships go down in one hit, and the blue ships only take a few more, so...
Enemy fighters
There we go, lovely.
proceeding to the Maktar Nebula.
The main thing in that level is just like, you know, getting used to the controls and not crashing into any asteroids, because if you crash headlong into an asteroid, you will, your ship will explode. As you would expect, obviously. So there we go, the Maktar Nebula is our next target, it's our next is where we are, and the Macton Nebula is where we are going to call this episode to an end. I hope you have enjoyed this episode of my Let's Challenge of Ratchet and Clank 2. And I hope you will join me on the next, where we will be continuing on with the story. Obviously, some unfortunate things have befallen Clank whilst we're over here trying to deal with Thugs for Less and their jamming array, which, can we actually see it from here? Looks like we can't, but we'll have to go sort out the Thugs for Less jamming array in the next episode, along with tackling on the arena for the first time. So I hope you will join me on the next episode.